So here we are again with another Helix video. This time I wanted to dive a little bit into the use of stock cabs versus impulse responses because it's such a, seems to be a bit of a hot topic online. If you peruse some of the forums, people are constantly going back and forth about which they prefer, and a lot of people tend to gravitate toward IRs from what I've seen. I think there was a poll recently up on the gear page that maybe, I'm not even sure, I haven't looked at the results, but I thought the IRs were kind of tilting the scale a little bit. Anyways, I've really haven't used a lot of IRs with the Helix. I did use them with a previous modeler that I used that I felt I needed them. And on the Helix, I just haven't really felt I've needed them yet. I've been pretty happy with the stock cabs, but it made me think that maybe I could do a little video comparing the two. So what I did is I loaded up one of these patches with the derailed Ingrid model from one of the previous videos. I took off my normal dynamics and EQ section that I put at the end, took off the delay. I just kept a little bit of reverb. I created two snapshots. I did a split cab like I was talking about in the last video, utilizing a 121 ribbon, 4 inches off, pulled back distance wise, like I would normally run it when I'm recording with the Helix. And I also mix in a 421 just with a high cut at 8 kilohertz. You'll notice I have plus 4 dB here and plus 5 dB. This was just more to match the level with the IRs that I was using over here, which we'll talk about in a second. Pretty much any of the processing I did as far as high cuts and low cuts, which I didn't do any here, I repeated on the IR just to kind of be fair about it. So I used the 412 Greenback 25. Here I used the Greenback 20 on the ribbon cabinet, just because I was trying to get the sounds a little bit closer to what the IRs were. The IRs I used were from Celestion, the Celestion Plus ones. So here I used the Greenback G12. Now it doesn't say whether it's 25 watts, 20 watts, or whatever. So I don't know if it was an open back, closed back cabinet. Oh, actually this one maybe says a closed back. I guess I was thinking that the cabinets for the Helix, I'm not sure about. Maybe that information is out there somewhere. I've just never seen it. So kind of unimportant. I don't think it's going to ever be possible to match these exactly, nor do I really care about that. I'm just trying to get something usable. And this is not a video that's designed to kind of tout one over the other. I've used the Celestion IRs with previous modelers and really like them. They're really well done, and I'm sure there's some other ones out there that I've heard a lot of people talking about, Own Hammer and a few others. So there's no shortage of those, for sure. I just decided to go with the Celestions because I had some kicking around and I had the Greenback. So I used the two varieties of Greenback speakers in here. There's nothing scientific about this. It's just how I decided to do it. So as a quick comparison. So I have the Greenback 20 on the R121 and I have the Greenback 25, I believe, down here with the 421 dynamic mic. And over for the IRs, I picked the Greenback 412 cab R121. I believe this was the dark. They give a balanced, a dark 1, dark 2, bright, fat. And I just played around with them. There's subtle differences between them, and that has to do with how they place the mic on the speaker. I'm presuming how far back, on axis, off axis, which is all going to make a huge difference. And that's why I don't think you're ever going to be able to match any of these perfectly. Helix obviously doesn't have the ability to go on or off axis. There's a feature I think would be really nice on it, but I have no understanding of how they would implement that, and it would probably be a ridiculous amount of work. And maybe it'll come down the road, but we'll see what they have in store for us. But for now, because of that, we can pull the distance back and we can put it closer, which is quite a flexible tool, as I've showed in the last videos I did. But I think it's going to be hard to compare it to an IR where they could actually move that microphone around in a three-dimensional space, pull it back, move it to the left, move it to right. And anybody who's recorded tube amps before knows full well that even the slightest move of a microphone and speaker cabinet has huge sonic implications as far as the EQ of what's going to be put down on tape or go out through front of house. So this isn't designed to say, hey, I'm going to match these, but I'm just going to see so people out there can hear possibly how good the Helix cabs are, or maybe they've only ever used the Helix cabs and they want to explore some IRs, and there's a whole world there that could be opened up to them. So what I did is I set up the Timmy overdrive, just adding a little bit of boost into the derailed Ingrid. Now that's going into a split cab, split block. It's feeding 2 cabs, and what I did is I set up 2 snapshots. Snapshot 1 is going to be over here, the stock cab, and you'll see snapshot 2 here is going to be the IRs. I labeled them Celestian. Oh, sorry, let's expand that a little bit more so we have a little more screen space here. So I can just simply click back and forth between IR and stock cab, foot switch down here. So nice, easy way to do it. I just kept a little bit of verb on just to give it a little bit of ambience to both sounds. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go over my split block. And if you notice on the top path, path A, I have my 121 ribbon on my stock cab, and I have my 121 ribbon on my IR. Down here, I have the 421 dynamic on path B, and my 421 dynamic. I think I picked the fat version that they had there. I found their balanced was a little bit too much in the high end for my liking. And again, all personal preference, right? Somebody else might love it. So I've tried to keep these paths equal. 121 with the 121, 421, 421. So now I can go back over to my split block, and I can just say, let's take a listen just to all the 421 by going and routing all the signal to path A. And then we can compare the 421, then we compare them both together, and then we can kind of decide on, or I guess I can decide on a balance that I like. So let's start with the ribbon mic. Here is snapshot 1, which is the stock cab. So what you're hearing is just the R121 on, I believe I said, the Greenback 20 cabinet. So So now I'll foot switch over and play a little bit with the Celestian cab. Okay, so here again was the stock cab. Here's the Celestian. So nice. I'll go back and forth between those and play a little bit. Stock cab. Both are very nice. I mean, there's elements to both that I like. There's maybe elements to both that I would tweak in a mix with a little bit of EQ, but both are totally workable. And it's a real testament how nice a job Line 6 did with the stock cabs and the Helix. So, okay, so now let's go and we're going to route our signal all the way over to the 421 dynamic mic. And here would be the stock cab with the dynamic mic. Sounds nice. Again, typical 421 dynamic sound, not as warm on the bottom end. I'll switch over to the IR. This is the Celestian. Go back and forth between those a little bit. Here's the stock cab. So a bit of a difference there. Again, both have usable components to it. I tend to maybe prefer the stock cab here a bit more. I don't know. Back to the Celestian. Again, very usable components in both. Stuff I might dial in or out in a mix, but perfectly fine. Okay, so now let's go and we'll just mix these evenly right in the center. So this is an equal mix of the R121 and the 421 together evenly. This might be a little bit louder now just because we have both cabinets and mics in there. Stock cabs first. Here we go. Nice balance. Again, maybe I'd play with that a bit, but Celestians. Go back and forth a little bit between the two of them. Here's the stock cabs again. Both nice, different, but both totally usable. And again, we could play with EQ and all sorts of things to get those matched up. Now, my typical thing, as I mentioned in the last couple of videos, was that I like to go heavily more towards the ribbon mic, right? So I could take my split here and just dial that back. I find I'll end up somewhere maybe around the 50 mark, A50, leaning. I don't know exactly if that's based off of percentages or not, as far as how Line 6 has done it, but I'm just going to play that more by ear and just sort of go with what I like to hear. So let's go back to 60. We'll see how that sounds. So here's the stock cabs with that kind of more R121 dynamic rather than, I'm sorry, R121 ribbon rather than the 421 dynamic. Okay, now we can switch over to the Celestian with that same split, that same balance. Go back and forth a little bit between the two of them, back to the stock cabs. Again, both nice, both usable, you know. A couple other little riffs there. That's the stock cabs, the Celestians. Okay, so both very usable sounds, both different, both have things about them that are great, things about them I might want to tweak a bit. And that's the great thing, right? If we were playing around with the IRs, we do have other choices. Here I've just loaded in a couple. I have some other G1265, I believe they're creambacks with the 121, 421, then the greenbacks here. That's the B here is the balance, D is dark, I believe, B is balance, F is fat. So we could play around a lot with those, but we'd have to keep going in and loading and making a list and finding them. I found that a little bit weird using IRs, is that I had to go through a list and kind of try something just off of a description and go, yeah, that's okay, I'll try something else. And bouncing around between those kind of killed my workflow for my personal, opinion on that. But other people might just find ones they like and that's it, they're good, and that's obviously a possibility too for myself. What I like about the cabs, the internal cabs, or the stock cabs, is that we can play around with those mics just by rolling a mouse. I can go here and just roll my mouse and just try these things really quick, roll that distance forward, back, low cut, high cut, add some early reflections, which I'm going to talk about in another video. Go up here and, blend between the two, which again, we can do with the IRs as well. But, so I don't know, this, like I said, this wasn't a video that was designed to sway anybody one way or the other, but more just as a bit of an opportunity to hear both side by side. I just messed around with these for about 5 or 10 minutes before I started filming, just to kind of get something that sounded good both ways, right? That was totally usable. I could easily make a record with either one of those paths and probably just tweak it a little bit in the mix like you would, and you're going to be fine. And the thing I found funny when I was just playing along with them, when I'd switch from one to the next, right away it was kind of jarring, right? I was like, whoa, that's really different. I don't know if I like this. And as I played with it, it really quickly, we forget that what we were listening to before, and that becomes the new sound we're used to. And then when we switch back to the other one, it's like, whoa, this is strange. But, just 2 or 3 minutes ago, that was the one that seemed normal, so it's really open to personal preference. And there's no right and wrong here. It's just whatever we think works for us at the time is going to be what's best, or whatever works in the mix. So anyways, I hope that helps somebody who has questions between the IRs versus the stock cabs. I wouldn't be so quick to write off the stock cabs. They're very good. I, up until now, haven't found any desire or felt any need to jump in and use IRs, although they're nice tools to have, if something isn't working in a mix or dialing in a tone. The Celestion IR is excellent. I believe it's celestionplus.com that they're from. I think they're ever expanding their product line over there, and they've got quite a nice selection of IRs, pretty reasonably priced too. I think it's $30 for all the cabs, and I don't know if they're like $11 or $12 or something per cab, like 412 with all the various mics, and then they have like a 212 open back, close back configurations and whatnot. You can check that out at celestionplus.com. But I've been happy with them so far. They're very, very well done. Nice, definitely something you could use to make a record. I think there's a lot of other videos showcasing those IRs out there, and then there's a million others out there as well. So anyways, I hope that kind of helped people to sort of hear the difference, or at least compare the stock cabs versus some IRs. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned. I'm going to have some more videos coming out soon enough. And thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Please share the video, click the subscribe button, and leave your comments. I love to chat back and forth with everybody. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And until next time, we'll see you.